But the one thing that I fear the most is being a shit dad. The one thing that's actually
define a shit dad.
I don't want to be a father that. Hey, what's happening, guys? Welcome to yet another episode of the TMS podcast. The boys are back. The whole team is back, and the hype man is back being a hype man. I know he appeared in the previous episode, and a huge shout out for the plug, man, from Black Break. Hey, we're moving on in life.
Shout out Black Break.
You know what I mean? We have like this situation looks so professional. I feel like I'm broadcasting out of a building in New York. You know what I mean? Like a Madison building. That's what it is. Thank you so much for tuning in. Another amazing topic, another amazing session that we'll be having with you for the next 30 minutes or so. Just go like, dislike, comment on the comment section, and just let us know what it is that you would like us to improve in terms of the content offering that we're giving you every single time we drop an episode. And we're calling this one the nappy episode, right? We have a homeboy, and I'm not sure if it's premature for me to announce this. There's a homie, one of us is expecting a child. Very soon. He's about to be a father.
Expecting a spawn.
Yeah, he's expecting a spawn very, very soon. So I wanted us to actually just talk about some of the fears and like challenges, right? As black men, as we're just trying to change the whole narrative of what black fathers, of what being a black father is. We know historically with the systems that we grew up under, right? No, historically, the black father, there was a systematic thing that was done to remove the father from the family. So majority of us never really grew up with like a great relationship with the fathers. There were some of us had fathers that worked very far away, that only came through, so you only had a transactional relationship with the father. So we are in this generation, we're trying to move it forward, but based on the fact that we don't know historically how to be a father, we have to figure it out. So I want us to just speak and unpack every single aspect regarding that. Just being a black father in 2021, the fears, some of the things that are positive, some of the low sides of being a father, and there's like, what, one pops right now in this show?
One full time.
Yeah. And there's a loading time on the show as well. So
It's buffering though.
yeah, I'm opening it up.
So just to start things off, I think one critical thing that I think was not very prevalent, as you said, historically, just being there as the time, being there, it's very much important. So, but you have to be there in the right way. So you can't be there and be toxic, but being there.
Yeah.
Because firsthand from what I've seen, so my boy is turning 10 months on, I think, Tuesday.
Shout out.
Yeah.
Shout out.
Shout out, boy.
This is for your eyes only.
Just school fees, boy.
But in terms of the actual dynamics of raising a human being, like, it's hectic. So, how to work, to bath him, to all of that. So there's all of that logistical issues that you need to align yourself with. But there's also other things that play a role, and I'm sure that's what you might, or whomever is expecting.
Maybe our homie still wants to be in the streets. You know what I mean? Like now we're taking him out the streets. But nah, he doesn't take it. But the one thing that I fear the most is being a shit dad. The one thing that's actually
define a shit dad.
I don't want to be a father that has reduced my contribution in my child's life to Zara, to being able to my provision. So provision being Zara to a lot of people. You know what I mean? You've heard many fathers say, I do everything. You know what I mean? So I want to be able to be in a relationship with my spawn, with my son, with my daughter. You know what I mean? And because I've never really experienced what it is like to have that relationship of father-son in my life as I was growing up, that's the one thing that like scares the hell out of me. Like, yo, you don't understand. Every single time I think of being a crappy dad where my kid flips out, that picture playing in my mind. Yeah, you're such a crappy dad. But ish, how did I become this guy?
You guys hear you guys did. I heard it late. The diss track. My stepdad is shit. What is it?
My stepdad is
the devil. Yeah, my stepdad is the devil. By Sophie Ndava's son.
Oh, snap.
Yeah. Yeah, he was going. You know, yeah. And this is a rich guy. And everyone expected this guy to have been, and his response was, how does a kid that I took through school, that I did one, two, three, throw swear words at
me. So your response was transactional.
Was transactional. And I don't want to be that guy. So that's the one thing that's actually kept me from even having children.
But that's one of the dynamics that's in your control, is it not?
Yeah, very much so. Yeah.
Like, you can choose not to be shit there.
Yeah, but you can be there, but you're boring the hell out the kid. But you're always here. Why you always up about me? No, I'm just trying to be a great father. Because you don't know how...
you never say I wasn't here.
Yeah, you don't know the line. With yo, man, I'm about you. You're going on a date, I'm going to hang out with you with your girl.
Yeah.
But you know what I'm saying?
I'm being present.
But I get what you're saying about being present, but also you must, mind you might be confusing being a father and being a friend. And those are two separate things.
I don't know now, there's another dynamic.
You see what I mean?
Yeah,
so if you're gonna be a father,
look, it's difficult. Now I'm gonna speak from stepfather perspective, right?
Yeah.
It's difficult because I don't think there's a perfect way to play. Because take Keanu for example, right? He has girls who he likes at school, but it's just that innocent like of like, oh, she gave me a hug. Ooh, his world is done. But you want him to be able to chat about that because you can't expect the 16-year-old to tell you about his love life when he's 16 if you guys can't chat about it when he's 7. Because you need to be consistent and build that thing. But then as well, where do you draw the line between, yo, go tidy up your room? But he's like, oh, but you my homie though. You know? Like, come on, we're chilling though. Watch him trust come on.
I told you about that girl.
I mean, you know, so I don't know how to do it, but it just, I don't know how to even articulate how to draw that line. But only you would know. I don't know how, because you need certain level of respect because there's recognition of I'm not going to call it hierarchy because I think in a household there's a flat structure.
There's
different roles. And that needs to be identified and known by your kid.
It needs to be very clear.
Right? So when you're honoring him as a homie, it should come across as such so that he can tell you, crap, I had a bad day or whatever, but then easily identify levels of authority between you and him.
Because all I want to do is raise a good human being, right? Like, because we speak about that, about being present, we speak about being absent, right? But being present, qualifying what I was saying, right? Saying, yo, maybe you are just overly present. You run the risk of raising a brat. Someone that's spoiled, someone that has no regard for anybody else because you are just there. Good, I don't care about you because my pops I know is going to do it. You know, so the thing is to try and find and strike that balance. Good, okay, this is the person that will understand how to carry themselves in the world and understand that I am here as a father to support them and actually just guide them.
I'm asking a question.
I have many questions.
Sounds like
let me ask you this question.
Sounds like a finesse.
So I had a debate the other day. And it's around being present, but to the extent where your kid is dependent brat, etc. So to what level of struggle are you going to expose your kid? And I say struggle, I don't mean you're going to deny them food for a week and be like, yeah, the world is tough. Sometimes you might go hungry. No, I mean, but like those things, the character building. For example, for me, I'm like to Sunday, I say, yo, dog, when Keanu's
this face to me, this question.
Yeah, it's coming to you. When Keanu's 16, I think he needs to learn the ways of the world. So, for example, if he's at Branston High, we say, yo, dog, it's taxi time.
Take a taxi.
You're coming home by taxi. You're not leaving work, trying to get to you. Or you're catching a taxi. There's kids, smaller kids than you, who catch a taxi. And it's not struggle versus, dog, expose you to the world, not just you
to understand that you're not in this bubble that you think you're in.
So my question is, because it's the thing of like, you know how our parents sometimes go, my mom used to say that, we used to carry water for 6 kilometers on our backs. Shit to worry about. You know, but to what extent does exposing a kid to struggle play a role in building a person who can step out into the world and be strong enough for you to know that at the age of 21, that kid who's out there is good, not the one who's always here and can't move out.
A functional human being who can sustain themselves.
So I think on my end, I don't have children yet. You know what I mean? So
I think you might have 3 you don't know about, but fine.
touch it.
We'll go look in Brixton. Lane.
Nimrod may just pull out. What do you run to? 99.9.
Yeah, but on the real, I think for me, it's a balancing act. I think you also got you got to understand your child, right? And I think you got to understand how they are developing as a boy, as a girl throughout life. But the most important thing for me is that like it can't just be too easy for your child to get certain things, right? You got to make them understand that in this world you will have to toil, and sometimes you will have to dig deep, and you will have to find solutions by yourself, within yourself, to actually get through some of these things. So I think there would be scenarios whereby you start doing these things. Like for example, when you were in primary school, right? You were doing 1 + 1 is 2.
Yeah.
And when you come home and I had a friend whereby we were doing maths homework together, right? And the mom would be like, this is so easy. Come, let me show you. Don't you know 2 + 2 is 4? And then she did all the homework, right? And then later on, it came across that now this guy, the basic fundamental math, he could not do it in terms of problem solving, right? And it plays out in life. So certain things like that, where you see your child is obviously trying to figure out, let him figure it out. Let him understand 1 + 1.
Hey, but in the case of Boma and Bisani, he
So-
was never going to play pro football.
No,
So whatever your kid just wants to play, you
just
just buy the team, man. You can afford it.
No, but here's the thing, right? Sometimes you gotta let them figure it out themselves, right? You gotta give them the room and patience. And I think that for me is the biggest thing, considering that we live a life that is so busy nowadays, right? So you've got your 9 to 5, you've got to make your wife happy, you've got to do this, you've got to do that, and then at the same time the child is coming with the homework, you have 2 + 2, and he's writing 7. And you are mad. You are mad because you're like, this is easy. Why are you writing 7? It's meant to be 4. You know what I mean?
Yes.
And then you're doing the homework, and subconsciously you're reassuring him to say that my dad will solve my problems.
Yes.
My dad is going to.
So it's very important to do certain things yourself. That's the only way you learn.
So what I'm saying is that you've got to create the room for the mistakes to happen and come to a point of self-discovery. So, for example, if your child is obviously failing math, right? As a parent, you need to step in and say, let's get a tutor, let's pay more attention to the situation, let us get involved, right?
Or maybe channel the attention to something else
That
they're
they're actually good at.
Yeah, oh, good at my brother, you suck at math.
Even
And real talk.
Yeah,
you
real
just
talk.
suck.
Real
Well,
talk.
you wouldn't say it like that, but
Some might,
But the unfortunate thing about society is that there are basic things that we need to be able to do, right? Which is English, maths, and a bit of science, right? You need to understand those things. Everything else, when you get to beyond primary school level, it then can add another flavor to it. And so we're thinking, my child, go do art because you can draw very nicely.
Yeah.
But at primary school level, it's not the math, it's the thinking and the analysis that you are building. It's the math
Basic
is not,
logic.
yeah, the basic logic. So if you can't have basic logic, you won't function in society. So I'm just saying that I feel that is important, just to create that room. I gave you a long answer.
Yeah, you did.
Yeah, you did.
What I'm looking for is, we've all gone through our own struggles. So for example, I started catching a taxi in grade 3.
Yeah.
I was going to detention too much, and my mom's like, I can't go from Garangua to Loreto Queenswood, many kilometers to come fetch you after detention. So you find your way. I was
Were you counting coins at the front?
No, I slept in the front. You know, but you go through all of those, and those stories are fun after the fact. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
During it, it's tough. But you realize
it's part of character.
the world we live in
Yeah.
needs someone who has gone through all of that.
100%.
Cushioning. So for example, I worry about now I'm just we take Kiara to school every day, and we're present in that. It's Sunny and I both in the car. One of us could sleep. In fact, she should be sleeping. But we go, no, let's give him the privilege of having his parents take him to school.
Yeah.
You know, it doesn't have to have our stories where my mom was dosing, 5 a.m.
It is a
Venture AM,
And then she just walks out at 20 rand.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But
You
now
know your clothes are ironed and you just put them on.
everything is there, dog.
The basics.
But now I'm like, okay, cool. So, and I understand Mark, Garth, and Brett have had this since God was a child, right?
Oh, yes.
But I'm like, no, man, there's something around a black child that I think makes our skin thicker by going through all this stuff. And I don't want this, grit, dog. I don't want this kid to be white boy soft. And I say white boy soft because I've seen it work. The smallest things that get to a white person is different to a black guy, dog.
Yeah.
The things that I've seen, I'm just like, dog, but it's like a non-issue, and it's not personal. I look at the black girls who come from far, dog, might catch 3 taxis to get to work. And it's not about them now as an adult, dog. The things they've been through And yes, some of them they don't have to go through circumstantial because parents can't afford things. You name it, you name
Yeah.
it. But for the most part, that shit has all like built strong people for the world. Because in the world, you get a goth he can't understand your struggle. Therefore, everybody must perform at his level.
Yeah.
Hey, but with that also, you run the risk of raising that. You know, the Kokasi, there's always that kid that's a cheese boy, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Who was exposed to the streets,
Yeah.
and they started moving with the streets.
Yeah.
And they don't want to be known as the cheese boy, so they start stealing whips.
Yeah,
They
yeah,
start doing some
Well,
funny
there's
things,
no
all
need
to
to
try
really-
and
yeah.
all to try and prove
Yeah.
that Asimo cheese boy.
Yeah.
They get everything from their household. Everything that they need will be provided for. So you run the risk when you say, okay, cool, you can't go out there. Yeah, you can't just sit here. You must go out there and figure out the world. And then you run the risk of having them fall in love with that kind of life. You know what I mean?
Hey, but what
Wait,
was it?
I want to ask a question, right? How important is it to have a good reference of love in the household? So as your child is growing up, right? How you interact with your wives, being the two of you.
Halal nyala.
So in terms of, because I mean, this is something that's been like I've been thinking about, is that we've been in households whereby the love dies, right? And you,
I see what you're doing.
so wait, as a child, you see like, okay, cool, my pops is not treating my mom the same way. Like it doesn't feel lovely to be in that space.
Yeah.
Like, are you guys aware of your actions, your the nuances that are happening within the relationship to be like, yo, our son is looking at the situation
In a certain way.
way. Like, I need to make sure that when he grows up, he's got a good reference
Of
How
love.
to
Yeah,
do-
that is an
of-
amazing one.
of how
Because
to
you carry what you see
100%
throughout your life. Yeah.
So
I'm just a question.
yeah, so what I've learned is one, this thing of banake bana, let them chill down there is bullshit, firstly.
Yeah.
So if Saleh and I are gonna have a disagreement, for example, and we're in the house, what would she might not consciously be doing it, but I do it consciously, where we're gonna have the argument, and I'm calling it an argument, but in the healthy way. And yes, sometimes if a voice gets raised, you assume that no, Mechanic can hear us, right? But then what you do is you don't leave it to, hey, banake bana, man. He'll just do it. Because he might run away with the fact that mom and dad are shouting in the house all the time. Versus speaking to him, and it doesn't have to be right there and then, but helping him comprehend the fact that adults disagree, and we need to thrash it out to get to a place where we go, no, we're not going to drink out of blue cups or red cups, we're going to drink out of white cups. Compromise, right? And yes, he might not, I keep saying this, he might not understand it, but the penny will drop sooner than the kid who's never explained that to.
100%.
You know what I mean? So I believe in that, where you to have because you can build the love, you know.
The love lip here
and
facade.
then, and then the kid just doesn't see arguments as how you.
For me, I want to come from a perspective of just be genuine. So you can't have a facade. You can't be living in a lie 100% of the time. Now, go out there and you come back from a 9 to 5, you must live a lie. It doesn't work that way. So you have to be genuine, but also be cognizant of the fact that the kids are picking up everything, whether it's verbal communication, non-verbal, the things you do, gestures and whatnot. It's all being studied from the perspective of someone who's growing. So everything you're doing, they're watching. It's from an innocent
And
perspective.
answer tough questions as well.
I'll give an example. When I kiss my wife, Kizote looks at us and he smiles like this. So he's witnessing the exchange of love and it's making him happy, you know? So that's just a small example, but everything you do, how Omanya, when you argue, like you said, it's being picked up. So if you're doing it in a tactful way, where you thrash it out, there's no need to throw pots and pans and all that.
The one thing that you
But there's no escaping that.
That's the thing.
And they take that and they carry that throughout their
That's
lives.
his framework now.
That's my reference point of relationships and what it is to be in a relationship.
So let me, where my side, right, is that I didn't grow up with my father in the household, right?
Yeah.
And the longest time I always felt like, you know, when you even pray, like, oh, you want your dad to come back into the household type of thing. But he's already in a marriage, he's in another situation altogether.
Sure.
And when I was interacting with my half-sisters at the time, my sisters, they had a different version of the truth in the household, right? Which is like, you know what, he's not as great as you want
him
your
to be.
vision of him to be, right? We don't see that affection type of thing. And there was even a comment that was passed by my younger sister at the time, and she was young at the time. She was like 10 or whatever, and she was like, you know, you're actually lucky that he's not in the picture, type of thing. And
Well, like, that's the thing that
so-
scares me. I don't want to be that part,
here's
bro.
the thing. No, but here's the thing, right? As much as I'm saying that, right? In terms of the fundamentals of the kids, he was present.
Yeah.
He was present. He was there. They didn't lack anything in the household. There was
Materially.
never materially, right? They didn't lack any of that
Yeah.
stuff from my perspective, right?
Yeah.
Outside looking
From
in.
the outside and looking in. However, when I look at
walls.
thank you.
There's no
However, when I look at it and chatting to my sisters, they would say the warmth was not necessarily there in the household, right?
Yeah.
Now, I am concerned as to when they pick partners, right? What is their frame of reference going to be? I didn't have a frame of reference,
Yeah.
so I don't know what a good dad or a bad dad looks like, right? Because he was never there. But they know something, and as a result, however they act out towards the world will always be referenced against that backdrop. So those are the things that I'm just like asking, are you guys aware of those types of things? Because you can fall out of love with your wife, you know, and you can fall in love again with your wife, right? And those are normal things that happen in a relationship. So like, how do you have those?
Yeah, Tiff
dialogues?
wants to say something.
I hear you, Jets. The fear is real. I am personally under pressure because I'm the only kid who hasn't provided a kid. I'm the only one.
In the background, yes.
Yeah, I'm the only one. So, like for me, I'm very fortunate. My father's been present, like
To this day.
to this day.
He's here,
He's
right
literally,
here.
he's literally in the room right now, kind of thing. You know, he's always been present. I'm one of, considering in like black culture, you know, the whole stereotype of a father not being present. I was like the complete opposite. He was there, dropped me off at school, gave me the first sex talk, you know, all of that shit. So with that being said,
Not that word though, but yeah.
Yeah,
I understand.
yeah.
But that's their relationship. I
I don't know. We very we
Easy like that.
yeah, we easy like that. So with that being said, like we hear your fears and all that type of stuff, and now you eventually, I assume everyone wants to be a father in this room at some point.
Yeah.
With the journeys that you have been through and the fears that you have, how are you now going to, one, avoid repeating circumstances, and in terms of like not being, well, the father not being present and the scars that have been left and all that type of stuff, and two, what are the key principles you believe should be distilled in the future
next
generation?
generation.
You know what I
Into the
think?
yeah.
I think a family needs to be
Let me
looked
just
at.
add to
There
that.
you go.
Do we suck at raising boys as men?
Yeah, 100%.
I was gonna say, is there a
100%.
difference between raising a
'Cause
boy
it-
child and
yeah,
a girl
'cause-
child as well?
There's always that dynamic in black families that the boy is very tight with the mom and the girl is very tight with the dad.
Especially early stage.
And what causes that?
Actually, you're making me forget his question now.
Yeah.
No, my question was like, what principles do you now want to instill?
Yeah.
How do you now switch from the scars that have been caused and all that type of
So
stuff?
let me start off right. I think for me, the most important thing was trying to understand who my father was, right? So I've gone on my own journey, and I think it's something that I've communicated with my friends as well. It's like I've interacted with a psychologist. I've had sessions with my dad in psychology sessions with him, and very heated conversations and very emotional conversations for us just to get to the point of saying what is the truth and what has
Yeah.
happened over the period of time in my lifespan, right? What that has done for me has given me a lot of perspective on where my father was coming from and what were the challenges he was dealing with at that particular point in time, right? And also referencing my mother's version of stories and having my father's version of stories and drawing my own conclusions to say, okay, you know what, here is the truth, right? And as much as it wasn't like a pretty story, right? The truth was, this is what it is, and I carry that. But what it also did do for me was that in terms of healing, I think healing for me is something that a journey that will take forever, but it's a journey that I've started in terms of saying, okay, cool, this has happened, let us heal, let us move forward, right? But also understand that every decision that I make, whether good or bad, and most likely, let's talk about the bad ones, I cannot reference my father as the root cause of it. It's my life. it's my journey.
To shape it
I
however.
choose to shape it however I want to shape it. So, like I say, I've chosen not to have children currently because I've felt that I need to have the right structures around my own life to facilitate what I want to do for my child, right? And I'm not there yet, I'm on my way, and I'm taking my time. There's no rush, there's no timelines, and if it happens, it happens. I'm not also saying it won't happen next month, but at the same time, I'm not actively trying to have a child, So those are the things that I've chosen to do on my side.
I'm totally with you on that because for me it's before talking about the child, I need the right partner next to me to run the race with me. It's very, very important in my perspective. Just to answer the initial question that we had about the fears of being a father. I'm not a father, but if I was a father, my biggest fear would be my child not being able to sustain themselves or fend for themselves when I'm gone. And that goes back to the conversation we had earlier. So that's where I'm at with that.
Me, I just don't want to be a crappy dad. That's it. You that picture that plays in my mind all the time of my kids walking out.
Just don't overthink it, dog.
You know what I mean? So I think it's one of those things because I was raised in a situation like that where every time people ask me about my pops, I will flip out and be like, yo, man, that guy was a crappy guy. But it's only now that I'm growing older that I understand where he is coming from as well. He was also a man that had to figure it out because he also never had a father, right? He was raised by his mom, doesn't know what it is to be a father, found himself with us. He sucked at it because obviously you know nothing about it.
Can I give you something we didn't even touch on now? I think TV, and I'm using TV as the main media platform, has shaped what we conclude to be the father.
Generations.
Don't discount stepfatherhood because I got
Achimoroka.
Yeah, Achimoroka. I was raised by my stepdad, though, and I only call him my stepdad just for clarity so that everybody understands that there's let me not say that word. Biological dad. There's a good. I was gonna say something. But hey, man. So I don't necessarily miss him. I don't not even miss, dog. I don't even think about homeboy, dog. Forgive him for what? There's nothing to forgive.
Not being around.
No, I don't. Because I realize it's not about your dad. It's about having a positive male figure in your life who, in English, will say is the father, but he shapes you as a man. And dog, it's really not about just like your dad because you could be raised by a stepdad and a good one, and then I promise you will not spend a day of your adult life going, oh my God, my dad. For as long as your stepdad also, like mine, he's a psychologist, so I've been fortunate to have, we talk. But I don't know at the time that it's actually talk that's going to make sense. Hence I say the penny drops eventually, right? But now I sit back, I'm like, damn, dog, this nigga's teaching me a whole lot of shit, dog, like game. But via just life. So now I think about it, I'm like, dog, no wonder I don't sit here and oh, my dad, I've met my dad twice, dog. I'm like, no, I don't meet him. I'm like, no, Sunny's like, yo, you want to invite him to the traditional wedding? I'm like, nah, dog, I don't need to, my dad's here. I'm not romantic, I mean, he's here.
100%.
What I know him.
And there's no combo.
No, nothing, dog. I got everything I needed to get
There's combo. Combo is the problem sometimes.
But in terms of what I was asking now, dog, I just think we just need to, if you're not aware, do something, go see people who can help you be aware, but practice emotional awareness in front of your kid so that you can...
You have to be self-aware.
Be more present.
Yeah, man.
And be intentional in what you're doing.
But also be able to take criticism. And I think I was going to say this. If your family's run like a business, right? A CEO needs to be sat down as well by the employees and be told, your flops are here and there. And regularly enough for it to not be a meeting even. Chilling in the car, be like, Dad, you missed my soccer game last week. You stink, dog. He's like, nah, fine. But
and one more cool.
Yeah, man. That's all. Yeah, hopefully we can get this conversation. We're conversation starters, right? You're on the TMS podcast, and I want to wrap it up with a story that you told me about a guy who was at Saints, right? Who got trapped by one of the rugby gens. He went to go call his father because the father and him had a great relationship. The father arrives at school, he gets trapped by the light. Now they're driving back home together. We find the mom in the kitchen with blue eyes. That's the type of relationship that I want with my son. That we can just look at each other with But that's how we wrap it up, guys. Thank you so much for watching yet another episode of the TMS podcast. Don't forget to subscribe and like, and also press that bell button so you can be reminded every time we have a brand new episode. We out of here. Out.